to the line. Yeah, this that Batman Joker daily duo Comic Cons. This that Batman Joker daily duo Comic Cons. This that Batman Joker daily duo Comic Cons. This that.
Yo, it's your main man King Castro X coming at you guys live and direct with the Comic Cons podcast, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 19. As you guys see, my co-host isn't in the building today. You know, he's only in the building when we're at the comic shops. These late night interviews have become kind of Castro's crazy thing he does for some random reason at night. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest, somebody I'm personally a big fan of, somebody that has helped me through my late night journeys when deep diving into Gotham Knights. Yes, I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about Gotham Knights, but it's one of my favorite games, and I feel like this guy can add on to the reasons as to why you may like Gotham Knights, kids. In the building, ladies and gentlemen, YouTuber, content creator, all around lover of video games and all things gaming, I feel. Ladies and gentlemen, VG Fight School. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. Shout out to you. Thanks so much for the intro, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Man, I'm happy to have you here. As I told you off air, and I just told the universe, I'm a big fan, dude. I have been following you ever since you started doing Gotham Knights content, man. You seem to be one of the only reviewers that I could find that was not just, you know, knocking the game. You know what I mean? You weren't biased. You played through the game, and you seem to have really enjoyed it, man. Talk to me about your experience at Gotham Knights and why you chose to just kind of keep it real with us, bro. And I appreciate that you kept it real. Go ahead, brother.
So, the day the game came out, it was kind of weird, you know. So I first got the game on, you know, I pre-ordered it on PC. I was waiting for the release, and then I started to, you know, everyone started to get antsy. You know what I mean? Like review copies, and then the leak. I don't know if you heard about or saw the leaked first 15 minutes of the game before Warner Brothers, like, you know, did a copyright strike and took it off the internet. Once I saw it, I was like, man, I gotta play this game as quickly as I possibly can. And so I went to GameStop. I got an Xbox version of the game, and I did the, you know, I got a plane ticket to New Zealand and flew to the time zone in New Zealand.
That is insane.
No, I didn't do that. You know, you have an Xbox, right?
So I actually only got I play on PC. So whenever I found out that you were, and I want to say too, like the only reason I started playing I'm a big DC fan first and foremost.
Okay.
Obviously, Comic Cons. I'm a comic book nerd, but the real reason I copped the game was because of your reviews. I was scared to get it, and then I watched what you had to say about it, and then I copped the game. So I didn't even get yeah. So shout out to you for that. Anyway, continue.
So,
didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So I, you know, there's on Xbox apparently. I don't know if this is a problem. Microsoft hasn't said heck no to it. I mean, I guess if you're not, you know, basically changing regions to buy and purchase things at different currencies and all that, whatever it is, but you can basically play at New Zealand time if you change your time and date settings.
Really?
So yes. So only Xbox lets you do that. Steam, it's a region locked based on your IP address. And with the PlayStation, you have to open an Australia account, or with Nintendo, you got to open an account in that time zone. So I fired the game up that morning the game launches, and immediately the reviews are dropping. They only allowed the reviews to drop like at the same time the game, or around the same set of hours the game was launching in the New Zealand time zone, something around there. So I fire up the game, and, you know, I basically kind of want to start everything. I was like, well, I've already seen this first part, the EULA, and just that introductory screen. So I fire up a review. I click play on this review on my PC. And the very first thumbnail that I see, I think it's from another YouTuber, big YouTuber, I won't mention the name. And they were like, I do not recommend Gotham Knights. And I was like, uh-oh. So I click, and the first three statements of this YouTuber, I was like, wait, what am I doing? The game is right here. I'm not waiting till PC release time. Let me go play the game and see what's going on. So I turned the review off like 2 minutes in. I pick up the game and I start playing the game. And I'm like, what is not to recommend about this game? And I'm playing on the Xbox, by the way. This is a 30 FPS version. It's the first impression I have of the game. Before you know what's going on, it's noon, it's 1 p.m. I break out of my trance when my cousin called me all the way from my home country, like, yo, bro, what's going on? And I was like, bro, I can't even. I just got locked in. My kids were watching as I was playing. They were feeling the game. Everybody were just like,
So just
"Whoa!"
zoned the whole
Everybody
family.
was just into the
That's
game.
awesome.
And my cousin, like, he just called, and I was like, "Oh, my phone's ringing." So that's how I broke away from the game after like 6 hours of just
Mm,
straight going through. And I was like, "Man, this game surprised me." Because I didn't think the game was going to be good when I saw it. I didn't know what to think. All I just was saying was, you know what? We're going to go into this game with an open mind. We'll see how things are. We'll evaluate the game from what it is the developers, bring, and we'll just go from there. So playing the game
right.
after that 6 hours, I was like, you know what? Let me go now watch these reviews. That's when I was like, what in the world is going on the internet? The internet was broken. Everybody, Digital
Definitely.
Foundry, oh my gosh, it was piling on top of piling on top of piling on top of piling. And the game's, overall perception just went downhill from there. And I'm sitting there going, but I don't have that perception. You know what I mean? I'm just looking at
Hmm.
everybody like I'm in a whole different, and so I that kind of gave me a different, and this is why I stopped doing reviews. It was that day I was like, I'm probably never gonna do a direct review of a game like, okay, here's this 15 minutes or 20 minutes of this game. I would rather sit there and just play the game and make
Hmm.
videos over the game for a long period of time so that as the game is evolving or as we're discovering things in the game, we're basically talking about them so we don't make a locked in review and end up looking like fools. Because a lot of these reviewers, when I started breaking down their tearing their apart their reviews, everybody saw that these reviews were just kind of lacking. They were like, yo,
Hmm.
this review did not mention that this is a thing, or this review misrepresented something, or it was just really weird, bro. So it's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen happen on the internet with a video game.
I want to say too, man, with the way you chose to deliver the content, right? As you said, kind of not necessarily reviews, but you gave us like live reactions just over time as you discovered, this little piece or this little piece about the game or this thing about the combat and so it kept it kind of a fresh journey as I was playing the game myself, and then I tuned into the things that you were discovering. It just made it a really fun and good experience that went along with the game. And then I feel like you hit the nail on the head, right? I feel like where a lot of people failed, and I think you've discussed this on your channel. I feel like where a lot of people have failed themselves going into playing Gotham Knights. I tell my brother Jules this, he just got Gotham Knights, and I feel like it's the mindset, right? So many people go into Gotham Knights wanting one thing, Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that. It won't be that. It won't ever be that. You hit the nail on the head when you said I had to go into it with an open mind, man. I feel like that's how Gotham Knights was meant to be played. It's none of these other games. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. It's just one of those games where the developers there was a purposeful departure from the Arkham games. That
Mm,
there's been a lot of talk, probably from some from myself, where somehow I thought that a lot of the developers who worked on the Arkham Origins game who are no longer at Warner Brothers Montreal. That's not
mhm.
necessarily the case, actually.
Really?
Oh yes, there are two of them I found on LinkedIn that have been
Mm,
there since they've been there for at least 10 years. And in 10 years, in fact, one of them, if you look at his resume, he joined the studio when they were making the DLC for Arkham Origins. That's his first. When you look at his LinkedIn,
wow.
bio, and he was on the marketing too when they were talking about the Bat Family stuff. There's a video where they showed the narrative director, the art director. He's the art director for Gotham Knights and a few other folks. So he's been there since Arkham Origins. He's also been there, and if you look at his LinkedIn, you'll see from so and so to so and so untitled project, from so and so to so and
Mm,
so untitled project. So all those rumors that we were hearing that they had canceled some games in Warner Brothers Montreal. There was talk about the Damian Wayne game that got canceled. There was
mhm.
also talk about the Superman game that also got canceled, and there was also talk about the Suicide Squad game that got canceled as well in the studio. Those games, he may have worked on one or two of them at the time, maybe in
So you
concept
th-
phase or whatever.
these could be those untitled projects, is what you're
Those
saying.
could, I think that's probably what they are because for some crazy reason, I think the algorithm was just like sharing the videos broadly, and a lot
Mhm.
of developers were commenting on my videos. Two devs commented on one of my videos and said they can confirm they worked as like contractors for a
Mhm.
certain period of time at the studio, and those games got folded up, and Gotham Knights is what we got as the end product. That's what they finally focused on to deliver.
That's
So
crazy.
it was a Superman video I did. I was like, man, is Warner Brothers Montreal doing a Superman game? And a guy, and I looked up his name. I copied his name and pasted it in ArtStation. And I
Hmm.
saw his resume and I saw, art that he's done for Warner Brothers Montreal for Gotham Knights. And I was like, oh, this guy is a thing. Like he's legit in, that pipeline. And ArtStation is like a developer social media website where people post like their resumes, especially artists, where most art designers and video game post a lot of their work.
So I gotta ask on that tip, right, man? This is one thing that I find really fascinating about what it is you do, man. You're kind of in the know. I know you watch a lot of the Twitter feeds and things when it comes to gaming, man. But how is it you go about, not to reveal your secrets, or you know what I mean, your magic tricks, or anything like that? But man, just as a content creator myself, like I gotta applaud the fact like you're on top of it when it comes to news, when it comes to conspiracies or whatever may be going on in the game industry, bro. How do you go about doing that kind of stuff? And I'm gonna take that question and lead it into, just so you know, I mean, just kind of what got you started. But if you don't mind answering, like, just how do you figure all this out, man? I think it's so awesome. You, like I said, you're my go-to guy. So is the go-to guy? How do you become that? How are you in the know? Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. The truth is, there is no secret to it. But
Mhm.
a lot of content creators, I don't know how they actually go with their pipeline. I can suspect that some of them use specific angles, and I'll lay everything out here in a little bit. Just let me kind of go from beginning. So when I started out this channel, there was a select number of people that used to comment on my videos, and a
Mhm.
lot of them are comic book lovers, huge nerds, big time. Like these guys and gals are way more, advanced and knowledgeable than I am. And
Mhm.
I realized it from,
Shout out to the
them.
comic fans.
Oh yeah, coming into the comment section. In fact, there was a video that I made. It was a really controversial video. I made a video saying, man, I would have preferred that Tim Drake was represented the way he was represented in the Arkham Knight game, where he married Barbara, and a bunch of comic book fans were like, bro, nah, 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 that Tim is not the Tim that we
Mhm.
have as the best rep. I was like, really? What are y'all talking about? In fact, I got into like some arguments in the comment section. Me and a few guys, and we were back and forth, and they were like, nah, 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 here are these comics or whatever it is, and they would just reference it. Sometimes if I remember when we saw the Mystic Leap with Red Hood, I was like,
Mhm.
okay, is there any comic reference to giving Jason any supernatural powers? And if there is, and I'll ask these questions in my videos, by the way, I'll be like, can you leave it in the comment section? People are like, oh yeah, New 52 volume 3, and I'll go buy, and it literally, I don't have to do any work. So in terms of my
Right.
details, it's the fans that carried me straight up.
Mm.
News, it's also the fans that carried me. Some guys were like, you got to get on Twitter. You got to get on Twitter. I was like, I hate Twitter. You got to get on Twitter. I was like, I don't want to argue. I'd get drawn easily into like, because I have strong opinions. When
Mhm.
people say stuff, I'm like, man, I got to respond. And they were like, you got, I'm like, but Twitter is definitely going to bring the dark side out of me. They were like, it doesn't matter. You got to get on Twitter. So once I got on Twitter, they said just link your Twitter to your video. So there's a Twitter link underneath every video that I publish on YouTube. So
Mhm.
these gentlemen and ladies and people in the community, if anything's going on, they just tag me immediately. I sometimes don't even have to, log in. They
That's
just
so awesome,
so
dude.
it's a community effort to be able to like stay on
Nice.
top of things. So sometimes I'm at work, I'm at family gatherings, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this just happened. So sometimes I'll run in my car when I have a break, I'll record an audio, and then right after work, before I even like get in the car and start driving home, I'll just throw the audio in my laptop, quickly do a edit,
Mhm.
render, upload, get out, and just have my work done. Or sometimes I have to come home, maybe sometimes I come home, I kiss the kids, I'm like, I'll be right back, I'll run, do a video, knock it out, send it, so it's been a community effort
That's
for
super
this
cool,
channel
man.
more than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating how everybody's kind of banded together to
Oh
to
yeah,
keep the content alive. That's solid, bro.
the
Shout
last
out to
one.
the VG community. Go ahead, brother. I'm
The
listening.
last one, other content creators, and I used to ask the same question too. A lot of other content creators, they are plugged in to forums like Reddit, that
Mm.
subreddits that are specific to those, maybe video games, or mostly video games because I'm in the video game space, but video
Mhm.
games, movies, and all that, So those subreddits have people chattering all the time. They don't comment. They'll never, comment with their accounts. They just, because most of them will be banned anyways. A lot of Reddit mods, they have no patience for YouTubers. I don't know why I got kicked out of so many subreddits.
That's
It's
hilarious.
insane. And so they just read, and that's one way to go. So plug into subreddits, have a community on your whatever site your content is being delivered on, and then talk to people who may share some cross-platform usage, like people in your community that use Twitter, and they can, or whatever platform you want to use, and they will basically share stuff with you. So I could tell you, man, that 75 to 80% of my videos are all people tossing me leads. Hey, man. In fact, there are some leads that I've not yet, pursued. I actually have like some MVPs, like 6 of them. They are constantly like making sure like I'm up to date. They don't wait. I mean, if you watch my videos, they get direct shout outs like, oh, bam, bam. They
That's
carry.
amazing.
They literally, their backs are hurting right now. Somebody's got to send them like, chiropractor. Or
That's
something.
awesome
So
though, man. That's a huge. Anybody you want to shout out while we're here, man? Feel free to.
Suspicious Tension, Titan Gamer, Astro Cyborg, a bunch of cats out there, man.
That's
It's
incredible.
Philip Morgan. It's insane. I won't remember everybody's name. Even Podcast Now, Alex from Podcast Now. Do you know him? He makes diverse
I
content.
I actually don't. I have not tapped in
Okay.
with him yet. So
Okay, and then Sway, Pablo, who's also Sway Casanova, who's also here on Twitter. He does threads. He will just sit there and just thread an entire video showcase. It's insane. The guy, I'm like, dude, how does anybody have the time to just thread this stuff with pictures? And it's very detailed too. So he's
really,
also another homie on the money that just constantly makes sure that you know I'm up to date with stuff. So yeah.
that's incredible, man. So basically, as you said, man, just your entire community, especially these MVPs that you mentioned, have come together, man, and they basically just keep that content funneling in, man. I think that that's so fascinating, but also like just really beautiful. See, the support. Right, that's what it is every day. We're content creators, right? Me and
Mm-hmm.
you know, we don't go into this expecting anybody to, like our stuff or want to even tune in. So the fact that they want to tune in that bad and to the point they're like, dude, here's more content. We appreciate what you're doing. We support what you're doing. Like we're gonna help. We're gonna pitch in. Like that's beautiful, man. That's a blessing, really.
It really is. And I learned this from when I started YouTube. You said you were going to ask that question, but I'm
Mhm.
just going to jump in and just start answering.
Feel free, please. Yeah, give us the origin story of VG, please.
Okay, 2016.
Mm.
About we just moved back. We just moved back home from a different state. My wife and I were living in a different state, and I was like, okay, I'm on holiday. I want to play video games. Hadn't played video games consistently in years, and I'm talking a long time. Just grinding. You got to grow up being a
Real life.
being a
Mhm.
husband, and then at that time being a dad. We just had our first kid. I remember buying like a controller from GameStop, and I was playing this game on my laptop, and I was like, "What the heck am I doing?" Took the controller, went and I turned it back in. Anyways, I'm back. I get a PlayStation 4. I played the Division all summer because I was on holiday, and I hated myself. I was like, man, I just feel like I burned a whole summer holiday doing nothing. I gotta redeem the time. And so we're playing this looter shooter, the Division One. I'm dialed in with a bunch of homies from all over the world. We just meet from playing games. We join our group chat. We're talking, and every time they had like a state of the game, like whenever they brought out any new content or whatever, I was keeping my ears to the ground, and I'll be telling the guys like, hey man, they just released this new stuff. There's this new stuff, and I've always just shared, and they were like, you sure you don't want to do this stuff? And just make a channel and just start telling people
Mhm.
this stuff. And I was like, not bad. So I decided, okay, let me do this. Well, at the time, Ubisoft, whenever they wanted to bring out like new content, they will bring out the content on the PC version because they could deploy it through Uplay without having to do the Xbox and the PlayStation
Right.
approval, whatever.
Mhm.
Because apparently, if you want to even deploy like a PTS, like a public test server on Sony or Microsoft's platforms, you have to do everything and then wait for like an approval process. Even if it's a test build that's going to be broken and all that stuff, there still has to be an approval process and all the stuff you still have to meet. But on Uplay, they don't have to, you know, go through anybody. You can just deploy it on Uplay and you go download it and play. That's when I said, man, I'm going to need a gaming PC because playing on PlayStation, everyone else is making the videos on, the stuff first. And by the way, one of the Gotham Knights critics used to make videos on the Division from back in the day. I'm not going to say the names, the same one.
Really?
Oh, yes. So he and I were making videos at that time. His channel was, much bigger than mine. Mine, I just started. It was kind of cringe. I started late. He had started from the onset of the game. He had done a lot of coverage on E3 reveals years before. He's a good guy. I have no problem with him. I just felt like, man, he had a busy schedule in October and all kinds of other games. And everybody had that perception of it's not Arkham. So it is what it is. So that's where it kind of kicked off. So I started doing that, grew from 300 or so. I think I started in October. By end of the year, I was at like 300 subs. And then by April, I was like 3,000 subscribers. And then I put that down and I took another job in management for a long time. So my YouTube channel kind of stayed bare, my main YouTube channel. But I got back again, started doing that. Division 2 came out. And then boom, channel just grew from there. That channel to like 20 something. Right now, the channel is sitting at like 34,000, 35,000 subs.
Big congrats on that, by the way. That's awesome.
Thanks, bro. But somewhere, somehow, I was like, I like the Arkham games, but this audience here, they love shooters. They love, you got to know your audience. Once you know your audience, and I built that channel with the audience for the Division, RPG looter shooters, action shooter type games.
Right.
So that's the audience that is basically, and I have guys and gals from all over the world that have been supporting the content for years, bro. I have people from, and they're like, oh, there's a guy that comments best regards from Germany every time he writes a comment on the bottom. He's been basically writing a comment for years. And people from all over the world. So I decided I'm going to start the Video Game for High School channel so that I can actually find the audience that's around the comic book games. And so I can deliver content to them. So I started this channel, I think it was like sometime in 2018, right before the announcement of Mortal Kombat 11. And I thought maybe I'll do Mortal Kombat 11 content. We were all waiting for the Arkham game. The next Arkham game, nothing showed up for 2 years. Imagine having a channel for 2 years and you don't even know when the game is going to come up. But we heard of the rumor. We saw those. I don't know if you followed. Did you follow the Gotham Knights game from the first unveiling, from the first leak to the first official?
I did not.
Okay.
Like I said, I found your channel. When I found it, it was on like right before release, like a week before release. You know what I'm saying? Is when I had found your channel, and that's when I was like, oh God, there's a Gotham Knights game. Started peeping what you had, and then I got the opportunity to buy it, obviously day of release and watch it. And like I said, but I've discovered all that through your channel, and that's kind of when I jumped on. So, but yeah, I didn't get to follow Gotham Knights in the beginning, back when they were dropping the Red Hood trailer and stuff like that.
Oh no, it was so there was a leak on ArtStation, a picture of Batman running away and two Talons chasing him. It was just a picture. Everyone was like, "What?" Oh, and then the artist was like, "Oh, I worked as a contractor, and they said I could post this picture. It doesn't confirm anything." I was like, "Man, this sounds like a suspicious, unofficial leak. There's no way this came out without someone saying post this." So the internet started to buzz. It was chatter everywhere. Then I can't remember her Tyrol. She posted a picture on Twitter of a T-shirt with the logo on the back of her T-shirt with the Court of Owls symbol. A developer in WB Montreal. That drove the conversation for like a whole year. Just that one picture, but it was like,
that's so crazy.
Oh my God, this picture, one whole year. People were looking at this because we didn't know what was going on. Then in 2019, they started doing some teases. And in 2020, DC decided to do the DC fandom event. That's where we saw Gotham Knights. We saw gameplay and the first official unveiling of the game. Patrick Redding and Fleur Marty, They came in there, they showed the game. Everybody was like, we don't know. And then they showed Suicide Squad as well on the same day. Both of them got a showcase. Stephen Hill and this one actor guy. So this was the origin. Everybody was like, well, we think Suicide Squad kind of looks better than Gotham Knights. Nobody knew what was going on. You know, you should see the reactions from back then. It was quite funny. And people thought that Gotham Knights was going to be in the Arkham universe, but somebody made a video saying it's not in the Arkham universe. It's a whole different game. We saw it. It looked like an RPG. It had the health bars and the levels of the enemies, and it had the currency when Batgirl took them. I mean, it had everything except the filter. They put like a cinematic filter on the gameplay, and it was in 30 FPS too. You know, you could even see some frame drops in there. You could see the whole thing. And for the longest time, I told people, I said, I hope you guys are ready. This is the game you're gonna get. They were like, there is no way this can't be the game. I was like, guys, this is the game. If they dare show you something else, you know, compared to this, it's too much trouble. Video game companies are moving away from doing that. Show this wonderful trailer, and then you're gonna no. They don't do that anymore. Ubisoft ruined that for everybody. You know, when they made their, you know, Watch Dogs and all these other games. Video game companies now, they prefer to just show you gameplay if they have it, and then they release the game, and it's like, okay, that was a gameplay. That way, they don't have any. There's no animosity. They try to reduce a lot of those gamer negative reactions by doing that. So
basically, they just kind of show like this is what it is. This is exactly what you're gonna get.
In fact, the gameplay that they showed in 2020 was the Mr. Freeze mission.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, now the only difference was Batgirl. She's riding all the way from a further distance, but when they deployed the game, they made it where you can only go from the Belfry to Elliott Center. So, and if you try to go out, the game will port you back to a specific location because that weather condition, nerd stuff, is heavy on the machine. The game development side, you know, when they change the weather and it's snowing now and there's lightning and thunder, they wanted to keep it in a contained area to, you know, basically keep performance going. So I was like, this is definitely a change that was made, but it's just an environment change. So you can only stay within the area of that mission. I like that mission, by the way. In fact, I kept my save files for that mission.
That scene was just so beautiful. The Mr. Freeze, the whole lead up into it was gorgeous. They really hit that. Probably one of the most cinematic pieces in the game. You know what I'm saying? Was that. So that was definitely cool. I want to ask you, since we are talking about Gotham Knights again, my brother, you know what I'm saying? One of my biggest fears as a fan of Gotham Knights, and I hate to just jump right into the negative side of things, right?
That's fine.
But I got to talk about it. Do you, so I'm not a big gamer. I, like you, spent a long time without gaming in my life. I used to game really heavy as a youngster. Life got in the way, right? Luckily comics stayed around, but life got in the way. You know what I'm saying? But I've recently found myself gaming really heavy again, and Gotham Knights is one of those games that got me to do it. And I started streaming because of it and all kinds of stuff, man. But I since gaming, I've met some friends, you know, in the online world that do gaming. You know, they're very up to date and hip to things, and they've told me things such as like Gotham Knights is dead. You know, it's over. But then we just got this DLC. What are your views? Do you think we're gonna get anything more for Gotham Knights, or do you think that last little update is what we're gonna get and it's done? Moving on to maybe Gotham Knights 2 or the new Suicide Squad game.
That's a very hard question to answer, but okay. I don't even know which one to put first. Let me just put my own thoughts on whether or not there should be any more content. So do I think there'll be more content? The answer is I don't know. Should there be more content? I say it depends on what they're already doing in the studio. So by that I mean, what if they already are working and they already have a green light on another project?
Right.
Should they take all what they've learned from Gotham Knights and start to put it into this new project? Or should they continue to still work on a new project as they're dishing out new content for Gotham Knights? That's also a question of logistics, leadership. You know, there are just so many with these big companies developing video games, bro. The red tape is insane. It's just like trying to go to your city to get a permit
Mhm.
and all the red tape that you have to deal with times 1,000. Okay, because there are just so many. I mean, you look at the credits at the end of Gotham Knights, bro. You know, the credits one of the
Right.
best credits in any video game, where they have like, you know, pretty much shot. I don't know if you remember, they have shots of your gameplay as the
I actually yeah. Little
yep,
highlight
little
moments and
highlights
things
of
like that.
your own
I do.
gameplay, what you wore, what you know. That's when I thought, I was like, this is such a good touch. I've never seen this in a video game where the end is giving you memories of your playthrough. Wonderful, you know, incentive in my mind. I thought this is okay. This dev team actually liked the fact that they were able to make and put this game together. To me, I was like,
Right.
okay. But the credits at the end shows, you know, I mean, I'm talking dozens and hundreds of people and external studios that all worked on this title together. So it depends on who's calling the shots
Right.
and what they have planned, you know, ahead of time. So if, you know, that's in the works for them to bring out more content, then by all means, sure. Now, would there be an advantage to bringing out more content? Of course, because they can continue to keep their game relevant to their fan base that likes the game,
Mhm.
while at the same time developing their new game so that the transition from the old fans, well, from the core fans to the new game is seamless and organic, pretty much. Like if you think about like Street Fighter came out yesterday. There was a
Mhm.
tournament today in DreamHack. There was like an official live person tournament. I don't know if you follow the FGC and fighting games. I follow the FGC. Like I like
I do
watching
not. I
fighting.
do not.
Okay, oh dude, for some strange reason, it's amazing how well people can play the game and how, you
Mhm.
know, they set up these prize pools and how some of these guys are able to basically win all this money from just their skill. And there was already an in-person tournament today.
I think that's so insane. Game just dropped yesterday and they're already
Literally. And it's not like
yeah,
online,
that's
like, oh yeah,
crazy.
let's play online. No, 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 no. Like guys already had, they already told them, hey man, before the game dropped, you're invited, you know, come on in pools, your prize money. They already had it, signups. And I'm sure that there are more tournaments that still went on today that I just don't even know of yet.
That's
So
insane.
the Street Fighter 5 community or Street Fighter community, they seamlessly transition into this new game. Like they just switched t-shirts.
Mhm.
Literally. So if Gotham Knights devs are going to be making new content, that's the advantage for that, so that their fans can just, all right, guys, let's just go on in here. It's just like the Mortal Kombat fans. They're just gonna walk on into MK1 like, you know, it was nothing, you
Ready
know,
to
for them
go.
to make, just ready to go. So
Right.
that's where you see game developers that continue to support their games. If you notice too, CD Projekt Red, even though their game came out rough, they constantly, in fact, they've given their game to Nvidia. They're like, Nvidia, if you guys make any new graphics card or any new technology, just use our game to showcase it.
Mm.
So every time you're seeing a new NVIDIA ray tracing, blah, blah, AI, blah, 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 cyberpunk, it's just all marketing so that when The Witcher 4 releases, you don't forget about CD Projekt Red. That's the organic marketing that I think is in video games that a lot of development teams, or I guess publishers and their marketing teams, if they can tap into that, you know, they really can use it to their advantage. So there's an advantage there, but is it going to happen? That's the question, is based on leadership. And then there's one more question that still lingers. And I know you, I don't know if I've answered your question or if I'm, you know, on the way there,
No, you
but
definitely have, man. You definitely
okay,
I'm
good.
just listening to knowledge. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. So the final part that I think is, you know, when you look at everything and you kind of like, you know, put it all together, they never really promised anything extra other than a single player game. They did somewhat
That's
tease
valid.
it. There was this one interview that, you know, a guy was like, "So, are we gonna see any other characters or whatever?" And you know, Jeff Eleanor was like, "Well, you know, I can't." He didn't confirm anything. The guy begged him. The guy was like, "Give me a wink or give me like a nod or whatever." And Jeff Eleanor and another dev were sitting there. They just laughed. They said, "Well, we just hope that everyone can enjoy it." They kind of gave this vague answer. They didn't
That's
confirm anything.
funny.
They didn't deny anything. So we weren't promised any extra content. So I guess what we're getting is icing on top of the cake. And then
Mm.
from a sales perspective, how did the game perform? Is it impressive to the bosses to say, let's keep putting money on this project? Unless they're secretly working on a 60 FPS console version, which could also now be another. Which there's so many angles, because a 60 FPS version is basically a different game.
Right.
They have to go in there and they have to kind of like strip a bunch of assets, just the way they did it at Plague's Tale. I don't know if you watch the Digital Foundry analysis of a Plague's Tale running
I
at
have not.
60 FPS. Okay, so but you remember Plague's Tale? It came out like a week before Gotham Knights, exactly a week before Gotham Knights, and it ran at 30 FPS. But if you had a monitor that supported variable refresh rate, you could get it up to about 45 FPS on your PlayStation 5 and Series X. So that
Really?
was a max F. Yes, it was also a 30 FPS game. I swear, people made such a big deal about Gotham Knights on console, and I was like, guys, there's like another game that just came out. But recently, the developers they did an update for it, and the Digital Foundry did a tech analysis, and they realized that some things were changed from the original version to accommodate the boost in FPS. So they reduced quality on the rats and a few things. So unless
Mm,
they're doing that in the studio right there, which could be another like soft relaunch of the game, like Gotham Knights in 60 FPS mode, these could be things that would mesh together to revitalize the game and possibly spell the onset of new content. But bro, they're just so many, and I'm sure if a developer was listening to me, they'd probably say, you haven't even said the half of it, because I'm sure there's much more that we don't even see behind it, that's behind the curtain.
See, I think you're right on the money, man. That's the thing we don't think about. First and foremost, there's just so many working parts behind the scenes to get these games to be allowed to be made and things like that. You brought up potentially on maybe the financial tip. You know what I mean? How well was it in as far as sales? And I don't think Gotham Knights did the best, if I'm not correct.
I don't
Uh,
know. We don't really know what sales numbers were at the
right.
time it launched. Its sales were actually really high, but it didn't have any competition,
Mm-hmm.
around it. And as much as people might say there was God of War coming, but God of War is an exclusive, so
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't too much competition on the Xbox side. There was Call of Duty that competes with everybody at that time, anyways. But mm, you know, I don't know what
Definitely.
sales were, but if sales were decent or good or whatever, that's arbitrary because we can't find those numbers. But if I
Right.
wanted to take a good guess and be objective, I would say the sales were not impressive.
That's kind of where I was leaning as well, man. Especially after all the goofy reviews that we saw and things like it just seemed like a lot of people didn't have fun, unfortunately. Not that they didn't have fun, just a lot of people weren't buying into the game. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Which doesn't look good to the big wig that's dishing out the money to have the game made. I guess just as a fan, at the end of the day, I just wish we could have had a little bit longer of story mode. Like that's all I want. Everything else in the game for me was phenomenal. You know, I had a
Yeah.
blast. I just wanted more story. We needed a little bit more. You know
For
what I mean?
the story, um, honestly, I don't know. I guess games like that, Gotham Knights is when people say the game seemed like it was going to be like a games as a service game,
Mm,
it's hard to convince people that your games as a service games, can actually be good. They will be light on, they're usually light on story.
mm,
Just because of the logistics of developing the game. You got to develop the game, you got to develop systems and so on and so forth. So the story emphasis, in my opinion, could have probably been much more narrow if it wasn't for the fact that the game had such a broad, uh, you know, eh, how do I put it? It's like fishing in a pond versus a river versus an ocean. Rockstar will make these games where it's like fishing in an ocean, right?
mm.
Every Rockstar game, like Red Dead Redemption and GTA, people are just gonna keep playing those games. They have all kinds of different systems and so on and so forth. And then some people will make games that are like Ubisoft open world games are like fishing in a river. It's a whole bunch of stuff. And then some companies will make games that are like fishing in a pond. Gotham Knights is just a game that's it's got a lot of width but doesn't have a lot of depth because there's just so many things.
Definitely.
If you think about, the fact that you have, 4 playable characters, bro, the I don't know why. If it was a university project, you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that, people try to attempt in a university project just because they're crazy. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Let's just do that.
Right.
But in a commercial game, hmm, let's make it akin to this. How deep is the story of a fighting game, of most fighting games?
Oftentimes not very much at
And the
all.
more the
Right.
roster, the bigger the roster, you can be guaranteed that the more shallow the
That's
story
valid.
content. It's Mortal
That's a really
Kombat
good
that
point.
actually pushes the envelope to actually give you a story, and you're like, oh, there's a story here, but the story is like 3 hours long because
Right.
why? The developers, they spend time actually balancing the roster. Now, Gotham Knights obviously is not 18 characters, you know, long, but Gotham Knights being a PvE game with a
Mhm.
story, 4 characters, enemy NPCs, RPG mechanics, gear and loot mechanics. I mean, at this point, whoever wrote this game's idea on a napkin, because that's how I see all these execs. They're
Mhm.
eating dinner like, yeah, man, we're in some fine dining restaurant. This is my vision of executives, by the way, where their their tip is like $800. That's what they tip the waiter, right? Because the meal cost way more. And so they're sitting there, yeah, we want to make this game, we would need for it to do all this stuff. And then they just write down the idea on a napkin. And then they call their game designer guy and they're like, they give it to somebody in a napkin and be like, hey, go make a game that has these things.
Do this. Right.
That's literally how I see them, because I'm like, you literally gave this studio all kinds of stuff to put in one game.
Mhm.
That's pretty much what I see. So, except the studio director has got weight, pull, experience over the years, and has like a reputation that Warner Brothers has to actually say, all right, like Ed Boon, like Mortal Kombat Ed Boon, 27 years. I made this franchise.
Right.
Except you're that guy, then
Mhm.
you do everything else that they tell you. And even that guy does some of the stuff they tell him. You know what I mean? So,
Definitely. Man, well, not to change up the topic, but you know what I'm saying, we're getting close. So I want to go ahead. I want to get some of this in here. You've been studying some game development, you know what I mean, for a little bit now. I've heard you talk about it on your videos and things. What inspired you to get into that, man? I think that that's incredibly interesting and just gives you a kind of an outlook that a lot of other reviewers and content creators don't have, man. You kind of got knowledge on how things work as you just displayed here in front of us, all the inner workings of things. You know what I'm saying, man? What got you into doing that?
um, to be honest, I can't even, that one I can't track. I
Mm,
just remember getting super curious, and I remember there was I mean, you're a PC guy, so you know Humble Bundle.
hmm.
Humble Bundle put together this game development package thing. Once in a while they'll throw a bunch of stuff in there. This was like a set of tutorials from these gentlemen that do tutorials for all kinds of stuff. They will have like these long tutorials, and they'll teach different concepts. They do some in Unreal, they do some in Unity. So I remember acquiring the bundle and I was like, I'll probably never use this. So maybe one day I'll use this. But the
Hmm.
thought crossed my mind. It was just like, well, it would be cool to actually be able to make a game or learn what it takes to make a game. I put it aside for like a whole year or like 8 months, something
Hmm.
close. And I remember I was on holiday again and I was like, man, maybe I should pick this stuff up. So I started doing some research. I'm looking watching videos, Unreal Engine versus Unity. What game engines are out there? What is a game engine? Oh, so I'm just binging on YouTube University, watching all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, don't I even have these tutorials? I forgot about the tutorials then because I started watching these tutorials and I think I downloaded Unreal Engine and I fired up some of the tutorials and I started doing following, and they're teaching you how to make this ball that rolls according to the physics and the
Hmm.
yawn boring stuff. So I go on YouTube. Oh, this is how you make this Zelda mechanic, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then I start doing this stuff, and bro, this is impossible, man. I'm just thinking, how does anyone have any comprehension of when to start? Because everybody can show you what to do. You can follow step by step and make yourself a cool system, right? You can go and out and read and do all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, I got to delve in deeper. So I start, getting some more resources, free resources, paid
Mm-hmm.
resources. And then there's a gentleman that does YouTube as well in the division space. He and I started to talk. He was like, dude, we should collab and do some stuff. And I was like, I'm down, whatever you want to do, but I'm always busy though.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, well, I love to draw. I love art. I love, comics and all that. And I was like, you do? Let me show you something. So I show this guy game development. He loses his mind. Dude's got a demo on Steam.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm not kidding you. Like
That's
he's like,
insane.
bro, all my life I've been trying to figure out how I would ever get started in this, and you just later. I said, "Are you kidding me? Here you go." So I create a whole playlist, and as he's developing his game, he shoots me text messages, and I'm like, I don't know how to do it, but once upon a time I saw a video, so I'll look up a video, I'll shoot him a video, just
Mm-hmm.
send him links of videos and stuff, and he's got a whole demo. In fact, um it's called Identity Rebels on Steam, and the demo is out now.
I'm gonna
And
definitely
he's
have to check
also a
this out.
YouTuber. Oh yeah, he's also a YouTuber. And let me see if I can find it here, and I can
Yep.
link it here in a little bit. Yeah, there's a playtest over here. I mean, it's a small demo. It's nothing, crazy, but I was really, really surprised as to how much he ran with this. So that was also another really huge um inspiration. But then as time was going, we had another kid. So I
Mm-hmm.
backed away. I just had to look at I looked at my plate, and it was massive. It wasn't just full, it was just insane. And I was like, man, I got to take a break, because I was literally, my health. I was like, okay, you're making YouTube videos, 2 channels, by the way. I'm still making my
Mm-hmm.
Division 2 content. I'm doing video game fight school. Thankfully, Gotham Knights got that delay at the time. And then I have a full-time job. I'm a dad, and then game development.
Yeah, that's a lot, bro. That's a whole lot to be juggling.
It was too much. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
basically, kind of take a break. So I think I've been on a break from game development for like 2 years now, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I realized was, in everything that I learned, and there were a lot of guys on YouTube that are making their own video games by themselves, solo, they're developing by themselves and all that. And they share a lot of videos and a lot of tips. Like, these are some of the challenges we're facing. And I learned a lot more about appreciating. I think that was the appreciation phase. Sometimes some education is not necessarily about the fact that you're going to use it. Some education is just to appreciate, you know, exactly what it takes to do something. Example,
Right.
you dig a ditch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, it's you appreciate when you see guys digging a ditch on the side of the road after you dig a ditch. You never look at them the same way again. They
You're
don't
like,
become
this
an
is tough. This
oh
took a
yeah.
lot.
They don't
You know what
become
I'm
an
saying?
annoyance. It's like, oh yeah, man, they're digging a road again, man. Dang it. This, always doing construction. Then you go dig a ditch, and then you're like, crap. And then they're digging a ditch, and it's raining out there, and they're still grinding, and you're like, bro, I respect the hustle. I think that's what that was the main, thing I took away from game development. So you hear my contents where I'm like, you got to give the devs a little bit of slack, guys, because this thing that everybody yells about is not as simple as you might think. In fact, some developers used to make videos and then they stopped. Example, there's a guy named Asher Einhorn. He's a British guy. He started making these Unreal Engine tutorials on AI. Here's how to make your AI do this and do this and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, clear, very brief videos, but they made sense, direct to the point. He stopped in the middle of teaching this stuff. Everybody was like, oh God, how are we ever going to learn AI when you're no longer here? His last video, he got hired at Naughty Dog. He
Mm.
worked on The Last of Us Part 2 and also some other games. He's left Naughty Dog now, but even he could not develop games and keep teaching you how to make games. a lot of developers, once they land a job, they have almost zero time to come
Just
back and keep
busy.
making they're just so busy. So
Right.
that's where we respected the hustle. Like, yo, this is a whole different monster. And that's, that's kind of like the journey so far. Would I pick it up again? I think I will, but I got to make sure like my quality of life can support it where I
Got to
can
be
do
able to
it
have that
without.
balance.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Definitely.
yes.
I think that that's beautiful that that's what you took away though, man. More so the you got the knowledge, right? You got some knowledge, but like the appreciation for what goes into these art pieces, if you will, these video games that we get to play. You know what I mean? There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, man, and that's one of the things that I feel like you do discuss quite a bit throughout your channel, man, is you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
just
In
behind the
fact,
scenes and go
one
ahead.
of the cool things, sorry to interrupt,
No, you
was I
perfect.
remember when the Mystic Leap thing came out, and I was like, man, I bet I can probably pull this stuff off. And I started like fire, I don't know if there was a video I made. It was a very interesting video. I made like a cheap knockoff Mystic Leap on the engine, and I kind of explained how I did it. And I was like, man, that's interesting that, and then when I played it, the developer's version, it's
Hmm.
it's like 60 times better than the one that I made as a prototype. But that was a prototype. It was just to kind of get the concept going. And imagine this. You're the game director for a game, right?
Hmm.
You think about something and you tell your gameplay guys like, hey man, what if we had this? And somebody's like, all right, give me 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's insane.
And they fire up like a prototype in 30 minutes. But here's the problem. In 30 minutes, we can see how it works, right? But it will take us 3 years to make it work in the entirety of the game.
Mm.
So from prototype to iteration is insane. How you can quickly iterate, but then when it comes to fleshing out your full game, it's insane. And so I look at when you look at the top guys in game development, you cannot look at their recent games and say, they're no 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 no. You gotta go back. Rocksteady, the Arkham games was their playground. Arkham
Mm.
Asylum was the first big game they made, but they'd already made another game called Riot Response something something, old game that they made in their studio. So they already had game development knowledge. It's a third person shooter. So they could make a third person game. They could make a world iterative. So once they got that, license from Warner Brothers, it was just about taking a lot of those foundational things and then
Mhm.
starting to build from there. And then they could now work on their combat system much more. So now we can do a third person game, we can do a third person camera, we can create player controls. Let's now start making, all these systems kind of, and so they just start thinking and dreaming. And then by the time you get to Arkham City, they're adding another character, Catwoman. They're adding another world. They're moving away from the asylum now to a bigger area like the prison. Then when you get to Arkham Knight, it's all of Gotham with
Right.
tanks and another vehicle. So there is a foundation that's built that they build upon over the years that then makes the game wonderful. So when people say, "Oh, look at Arkham Knight, man, a game that was made in 2015." Really? I think Arkham Knight was made in like 2009. You got a built upon version in 2015 when the developers had basically honed down their craft. They were zen. They had time to even add another like a vehicle, like a car, like a Batmobile. That's when okay, y'all had too much fun. And Stephen Hill said, he was thankful that Warner gave them, the time to add the Batmobile to the project. So it's really cool. And then oh man, dude, it's I can go
I
on and
think that
on.
no, I get you though. I think that that's really awesome, man. You know what I mean? It's basically kind of like evolving, right? The way you described it, man. It's like you got the base form of whatever said game. We're going with Arkham Asylum, like this base form, and then the final evolved version being, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Arkham Knight. With this is everything that this is all of those years. You know what I mean? Put into one game. Here it is, finally. This is the ultimate product. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's so cool. Such a good way to describe it. I
You know,
didn't. Go ahead.
sorry, sorry, these thoughts are just popping up. I want to throw them on record.
No worries.
So now that I said that, I'm thinking to myself, have you played the Arkham games?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So,
Of course, huge fan. Amazing
okay,
game.
good. Everybody swears that, you know, Montreal made Arkham Origins. So why didn't they, not everybody, a lot of people, why didn't they make Gotham Knights using those systems? I strongly believe something, and this is just a belief. So let's start with the facts, and I'll tell you what I believe.
Okay,
Rocksteady
go ahead.
Rocksteady gave Warner Brothers Montreal all their assets and their code to make Origins. There's a video where the studio director of Warner Brothers Montreal at that time, he said it. There's a Game Reactor documentary. I have like 30 videos where I cite it, and sometimes I'll even play a clip of it. And he said it in an interview, pretty much. So we know that that's true. And we can even see it from the way the game plays, that it's basically a similar game. You tweak some things, sound design, your
Mhm.
assets change them, but core mechanics is basically the same. Now, Warner Brothers Montreal, we also know that they helped develop the Cold Heart DLC, the Cold Heart DLC, sorry, the Matter of Family DLC for Arkham Knight, right?
Mhm.
But we have no idea, nor do we know if Rocksteady gave them the code for Arkham Knight and said, do what you will. So probably by the time they were going to make another game, they were like, we don't have the polished version, or we don't have the right to use the most polished version of the Arkham games to make another game. Because the polished version of Arkham City and Origins is Arkham Knight, which is in Rocksteady's hands.
Right.
So imagine if they had taken Origins and then say, okay, let's use Origins and then make another. It would still be subpar to what Rocksteady had done with how much they polished their core system. Unless Rocksteady gave them the core system and then they built on top of that, which we don't know if that happened, or obviously doesn't seem like it did, because they were making that Damian Wayne game. So I think as they were making the Damian Wayne game and Arkham Knight came out, they were like, the heck? We can't top this. We can't match this. Origins could somewhat match City in a sense, in some regard. But imagine if you were sitting with Arkham City code and then Arkham Knight shows up and you're like, "Oh my god."
That's
Like,
insane.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know, man. It's just a thought. And I was like, I could see where they looked and said, "Ah, crap."
Man, I gotta say, hanging out with you on this podcast, brother, feels almost as if I'm watching one of your videos, especially the fact that I can't see. I'm just sitting here still. If you guys don't know, normally I'm more talkative than this, but sitting here with VJ, I'm just sitting here learning the whole episode. I'm just like, oh, really, really? Just I feel like I'm watching your videos, bro. Uh, so
Uh,
yeah, man. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, man, but
no, no, no,
this
no.
is it's just awesome.
It
I'm
was
I'm
just a,
nerding out the whole
it was
time.
just a thought that I've never really considered, and I was like, man, I gotta say this because I've spent 2.5 years just mulling over these games, having conversations. I
Mhm.
feel like even my children watch my videos now too, so
That's
I feel
awesome,
like
dude.
even they are in this whole conversation too because they know the Arkham games, they see them, they watch me, they've watched me play them. So the conversation is a in-house conversation and also
Mhm.
like an online conversation as well. So it's what I do, it's what I do for like, work. So they know
Mhm.
what that does. And so every single idea that we've mulled over, every single fact and detail that we've tried to comb over, because the developers don't tell you anything, right?
Right.
So all we have is just the facts that we can glean from interviews and articles and posts and leaks and all these things, and then we're just putting pieces of a puzzle together that, unless somebody comes out and says something, we'll never be able to complete the puzzle.
That's what I just think is so awesome, man. Again, just to highlight you, highlight your channel, brother. You're the detective of this stuff for me, man. It's absolutely incredible, bro. I appreciate your work, man. You killing it out here. We are nearing the end of the episode, brother. There was more things I wanted to get to. I'm gonna have to bring you back sometime if you're down.
Hey, sounds
You
good
know
to
what I'm
me.
saying? Yeah, we got more to talk about. Like I said, Spider-Man's coming out, kids. Mortal Kombat 1. My man's already been talking about that, so check out his channel. VG, do you want to plug up your stuff, man? Feel free to shout out all your channels, your Twitter, all of that good stuff where they can find you.
Hey, well, thanks so much for the opportunity.
Of course, brother.
My comics, platform is VG Fight School, and
Mhm.
it's the one that I'm actually very, very, passionate about from an organic perspective. So you can check me out on YouTube on VG Fight School, Twitter VG Fight School as well, and you'll see my work there. And it's one of those things where you could just wake me up from my sleep, and I could just start talking, comic video games, like, oh, okay, yeah, this one thing. So I really do enjoy, doing it. So yeah.
That's awesome, man, bro. It was a pleasure having you here, man. Like I said, told him off air. I've told you guys multiple times now on air. I'm a big fan, bro. Super cool to actually get to talk to you. I know you're just a person, but to me, you're the guy that I watch on YouTube all the time. So it's
That's
like,
very humbling. Thank you.
it was really dope. Thank you so much. Kids, check us out. Comic Cons podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Literally fun story really quick. The only reason King Castro X and the Comic Cons have a Twitter was to get a hold of VG Fight School here. That's the only reason it's been made, and now it's there. So go follow that, guys. We're trying to get that up. Check us out on TikTok, all the good social media places, and then anywhere else you guys need to listen to a podcast. Check us out, Comic Cons Podcast. That's KHANS. But always, definitely, for sure, follow us up on the YouTubes. Hit that subscribe button, that like button, all of that good stuff, kids. VG again, bro. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And until next time, kids, go collect something, fellow cons. Peace. We're out. Boop, boop, boop. Yes, sir.
Peace out.
June 18th, live at the Glenpool Conference Center. King Castro X, Young Master Jules, the Comic-Con, taking a stop at the Tulsa Comic Book Swap.
Yo, it's your main man, King Castro X, coming at you guys live and direct. What's up, everyone? It is Young Master Jules and Castro. Where we at? We are here live, ladies and gentlemen, at the Glenpool Conference Center for the Tulsa Comic Book Swap, kids. 12205 South Yukon, Glenpool, Oklahoma. Tulsa Comic Book Swap. We'll be doing a live podcast, a comic book raffle giveaway donated to us from the illustrious Comic Book Com kids. There'll be giveaways, food, drinks, snow cones, so much more, kids. Come see us June 18th, 10 a.m., free event. Come on down and let's have a good time. See you later, fellow cons. Bye.